So I'm a little late with this one, but best of May, right? Best of May, because June is freaking done and we're going into the second half of 2025. But there were some things that were too big to overlook that I wanted to talk about looking back at May, personally, as well as crowdfunding in general. So that being said, intro over, let's freaking go because time is valuable. So what were my highs and lows on crowdfunding for the month of May? First up, one of my biggest highs, Final Titan. I got to cover it. I love the asymmetry that Richard Garfield is bringing to this with Nerd Lab Games. I am a huge Nerd Lab Games fan in general, and this is going to be a twist on, say, the King of Tokyo style vibe of what they've presented, if you will. And I am a little bit reserved about how good it can be, just because I had a very early copy of the prototype, which is not going to give all of the dynamic vibes that the final product is going to be comparatively, just with the sheer variety and asymmetry. And it's not going to appeal to a lot of people. That's why it's a little bit controversial in my opinion, because a lot of people are going to hate this style of game. It's King of the Hill, folks. You just throw your monster in there and you go, and it's very dice dependent and it's draw ability card dependent, but it's just fun in like a King of Tokyo style vibe with a slight card driven twist and not having everyone in and out of Tokyo at the same time. So from those aspects, I think if you like that, this is not going to be like a whole lot of other stuff that we have that's already out there, which is what Nerd Lab has done similarly with Mindbug and Agent Avenue as well. Similarly, I'm going to go overachieving here, and this is Titan Zero, formerly known as Titan Defense Organization from Raccoon Games. This is probably my biggest surprise of the month because it was on my more anticipated games list at the beginning of the year, and then I dropped it, to be frank with you, because I didn't like the artwork, and I thought the gameplay looked incredibly shallow. And then the campaign went live, and I said, oh, that's kind of a little bit clever with the dice management there and you taking dice, but then the dice that are left is going to be how the AI system for your enemies, your bosses, your monsters is going to be driven. Okay. My slight concern, though, is when you've got a history of Tsukiyumi as well as EOS Island of Angels, which are trying to do too much and just aren't as well fine-tuned, potentially, per what I've read criticism-wise. I just worry that the same thing could happen here in a cooperative boss battling style of things. Although the mechanistic approach, I don't want to say it's not dumbed down, but it is more streamlined here from a cooperative sense, which if you can make it like the loop in that way, it's going to overachieve. So I did not end up backing it, but I am seriously debating about late backing it, because there's a little bit of FOMO with some of those extra bosses in content. So I don't know what I'm going to do yet, but it's by far and away the standout of the month that I was not expecting to get back on my radar. Similarly, a little bit of not what I expected, Tomb Raider, Crypt of Chronos. I mean, I don't know. I guess I was expecting something more dynamic, something more mechanistically just different. And I don't think it's going to be a bad game. I'm also just not enamored with it whatsoever. And unless I think you're a Tomb Raider fan in the first place, I don't see a huge amount of incentive to really go out of your way to get this one comparatively to a lot of the things that are out there with a similar mechanistic approach, especially because it seems to be more tailored to the lower player count than the higher player count in that way as well. Flip side of things, I covered Nexus. I think Nexus is a nice, different, slightly heavier version of Magic the Gathering meets Smash Up. And I actually have the prototype box sitting right here next to me still. And it's one of those that it reminds me very similar in the same way of, say, a mind bug situation mixed with soccer arms. I know I'm doing comparisons all over the place today, but it's got that style of vibe, more like almost an Enchanters, where you're just smashing things up and creating. And it's smooth, and it just is a lot more fun than Smash Up. Smash Up was very dry, very boring for me. And so this is just what I thought Smash Up was going to be. So I like what they're offering in this sense. The other big kudos, but it's going to be a little bit of a compliment sandwich here from Matago with the Enos Big Box, the Nemed expansion, because I loved the price point of this campaign. This price point of this campaign was one of the best value per dollar pledged that I've seen in a long time. Now that we've got the first compliment out of the way, we got to do the sandwich style of things. The downside is the matching if you are not necessarily getting in this campaign. The availability of that was kind of a big question mark. And so there was a little bit of FOMO. There was also the people who are like, I'm just going to sell my copies right now of the base game and the expansion, get all the matching new stuff, make it look all pretty and shiny and new. And you know what? Here's the other end of the sandwich. I really like that freaking art on the big box. I actually am a fan of that bright yellow with some green blue hue. But that's the question. They're doing like the Everdell situation like you've seen with some of these other ones where you buy the whole set, you sell your partiality, you recoup most of the cost, and people feel good about going almost even-ish from that aspect. But I mean, it's a known quantity too. It's just a question of whether or not you feel like that known quantity needs more quantity, if that makes sense. The other slight surprise for me that I was not expecting to actually like, Lifeboats, the plank of Carneades, whatever you want to call it, right? Lifeboats, voting people off, getting thrown overboard, incredibly take that King of the Hill, hate whoever you want, hating style of things with a reprint out of print game in the first place. Did I back it? No. Is it on my radar now? And could I see my kids totally trying to destroy me in it as a slight step up, almost more appealing version of Survive the Island, which is sitting right down here below me right now at the time of me speaking? I mean, I like this, but this is more speaking to me, Lifeboats here, in the way that I was hoping that Survive the Island actually was before I played it. And that's a fine game. But this might be the game that I thought it was going to be, if that makes sense. And so I got to give some kudos there as well. Then a little bit of a letdown on the opposite side of things, Shallow Regrets from Button Shy, with the Deeper Regrets campaign, reprint, and new expansion going at the time of me filming this. That is smashing it out of the park. Shallow Regrets just didn't offer anything that I was wanting out of it necessarily without expansion content. It was a little bit, dare I say, pun intended, a little bit too shallow. So I won't say anything bad. It wasn't bad, but it just didn't have enough decision making for me overall. Similarly, Aeon's End, Beyond the Breach. You know me at this point. I have shouted my love for Aeon's End. But just, more stuff. And everything being standalone. Everything just getting more and more and more. I've reached a saturation point with it. And it's hard for me to tell now when you've got this new campaign and new milestones and all of these little extras that go along with it. How necessary is this? Is this going to be 2 power creep? Is it going to be the actual one that I want it to complete things that the last couple in terms of the campaigns and legacies have just left me desiring and wanting more? And the truth is, the answer is partially yes. But at the same time, if I can't tell with 5th battle expeditions and level 4 treasures, I don't know how I feel about this, right? Like, I don't necessarily need a new tier of bad guys when I suck at the game already. And I don't know if I need new versions of older supply cards with slightly better abilities and slightly lower costs to supercharge it. And trinkets? Okay. 1 use effects and randomized to not know what you're getting and to use it one-offs. And so it's intriguing, but again, power creep with the mages, power creep with the nemesis, power creep with a revamped nemesis and crooked mask, 3 foes and fiends. I like the, accompanying, sidekick aspect of things, but more sealed decks and more additions of things. And sometimes I just want to give me all the stuff and just let me play with it. And so I think it's just getting away from that, and people must love it. People must still love it just as much as I love it, because you don't get $400,000 plus on a crowdfunding campaign. But at this point, I'm rather wanting to trade for it when this used to be an insta-back for me years ago as well. The other one from Matago, I can't tell what to make of this, because I feel like, games that are card resource management with resource manipulation back and forth that in the line of Coexist, it's a dark horse under the radar type of almost tableau game. 31,000 euros, and I just don't have a clue what to make of this. I love the artwork. I love the animal thematic incorporation. I love the mixing and matching of the resources back and forth to pay for these animals in order to release them. But I can't tell gameplay-wise with this if it's going to be one of those style of games that absolutely suits you or is a hit or miss, because I have found many games within this genre as a whole, this mechanistic approach, that are, you know, right in what I'm looking for fun-wise, and then also ones that I'm just like, man, nope, just does not click. And for me, this was that type of game, so I said, okay, what do you do when you see something like that? You say, I'll pass. What were my top played games, personally speaking? New to me, played games of the month, now that we've covered crowdfunding. The most surprise out of any of these games, the most played out of any game, was one I picked up at retail on a whim, because I knew that I wasn't going to probably get a review copy. And it's one of those that I always feel weird about asking for review copies of like $10 games, right? Just go buy it yourself, Chris. So I did. All Aboard. All Aboard, right? It's this super simple, chaotic, almost idiotic in a very fun way. And I don't say that as a bad thing. I say it as a joke, tongue-in-cheek, right? You just have animal cards. Everyone has the same set of animal cards. You shuffle them up, you have 3 in a hand. There are 5 boats out in front of you that have a weight limit, and all your animals have a weight. And you place them alternating face up and then face down. And if I could do that right, it'd be face up like this and face down like this, and you play your 3rd card face up again. And so you all go around and do 1 and then 2 and then 3. And you flip up and reveal, and you see whether or not the boat sinks or swims. If it swims, I don't know why I'm saying that. If the boat floats, that's what you get on this channel. I'm not editing that out. I'm leaving that part in. Then you get the points for that animal. But if it sinks, you don't. And the animals, if they're duplicated, they fall in love. And that's also the tricky point, is because if there's duplicates, it cancels the somewhat special abilities that are present in about half of the animals in the first place. And it's one of those crazy chaotic games that sometimes your strategy is going to be absolutely on point and you're going to win. And sometimes your strategy is going to be absolutely on point and you're going to get smoked by the face downs and the decisions of other people. It's a game my 4-year-old, 4.5, he's almost 5 now at the time of me filming this, has won. He actually won a game. And we did not let him win. And so that's the type of game you're going to be dealing with. But it's a game that my kids are going back and back and back and back to. So take that for what you will. Similarly, we talked about Nexus. I already expounded my thoughts on Nexus. Then I talked about in my review Sniper Elite as one of the best one versus all style, or one of the best hidden movement style games I've played. And it's sitting right over there on my shelf. And I wasn't expecting to keep this game because, again, transparency here. When I talk about games, when I get some of these review copies, I kind of go, okay, I'm anticipating keeping this. I'm anticipating this one might be one I'm getting rid of. This was one I did not anticipate keeping, and now it's staying, which is a nice surprise because it's just a hell of a lot more streamlined rules-wise and mechanism-wise than I was expecting. And that is the biggest compliment I can give in the era and the golden age of rules and mechanistic bloat that we are in, both on a crowdfunding as well as retail side. The phrase, the ideology that less is more has been completely lost in the last couple of years, especially on crowdfunding. And it's nice to see that that still has some streamlined focus, unlike the ADHD games of nowadays that we're seeing more often than not. So that was a very nice surprise. I'm enamored, but difficult to play with Rebel Princess Deluxe Edition. It's hearts with special powers, folks. It's hearts with how you change your passing at the beginning of the round. It's hearts under a different vibe and suit. It's fun, though. It's a hell of a lot of fun. And it plays up to 6. That's the other nice point. And so that's why it's going to be staying around and not going anywhere, because we taught my kids now how to play hearts, which is fantastic. Okay. Ruins and Oddlands. You know, again, all play situation. I expected to like Oddland more. I ended up liking Ruins more, even though the frickin' sleeving on those cards is a pain in the motherfucking rear. Because not only did you have to sleeve them all before you can play it, you got to take them all out afterwards to reset the cards. It's a scout type vibe that really frickin' works. with the extra symbols you get to add with the dual layering of the transparent cards in the first place. But it is so freaking annoying from that aspect that I don't know what I'm going to do with it. And it's going to be a barrier to get to the table because I don't want to deal with that sometimes. But it is probably one of the most solid all-play games that I've played. And that's saying something. I would say that it's right up there with any of them, arguably one of the best ones, if I can say that and get away with saying that. Similarly, mechanistically speaking, Line of Fire Burnt Moon here from Osprey Games is outstanding. You sense the vibes of Undaunted, but it gives you a lane battling situation. The biggest downside I will say with that, though, is it's incredibly analysis paralysis inducing. And the market that is symmetric between both players, that you're drafting, that you're actually eliminating your opponent's cards from everywhere but the battlefield first, because you have to play the same card to take the action on the same card, is incredibly unique. It's incredibly difficult. The will go spoils of the victory to the better person. But because it's so detailed in how you're going to have to plan that out, it's going to be overwhelming for people that aren't expecting it and thinking it's going to be anything more like a lane battler 2-player that you're familiar with in the first place. And although it is tremendous, it's one of those games I can't widely recommend for the same reasons. Because the people that are going to be very interested in this are going to be circle within a circle, if you will. Then we have to talk about it because I played a ton of it. And it's one that I haven't mentioned in this channel a whole lot. Klask. My kids absolutely adore Klask. We have the 2-player. We also have the 4-player. And this is the dexterity game for families. This is the dexterity game for kids under 10. This is the best one I can say hands down. I've got them sitting right over there behind the camera, stacked on top of each other like, everyone says not to do. And it's just fun. The 4-year-old can do it. The 10-year-old can do it. I can do it. There's a little bit of skill. There's a little bit of luck. And it's just, again, one of the most enjoyable experiences that I have in this whole frickin' small room. And I cannot understate that fact in the first place. The biggest downside right now is we have 5 family members and only 4-player Klask. So there you go. That is my May in a nutshell. Let me know what you think. Comments, questions, concerns down below. Stay classy. Thanks for subscribing and watching. Peace out. See you later.